Hi everyone, this is Heather Cole with Lodestar Solutions, and today we're going to talk about how to avoid failing an IBM audit if you are an IBM Analytics client. So this is the secrets that I've learned in working with clients in the Cognos Analytics space for over 20 years. So today we're going to share with you all sorts of things that you as a client need to know. You see, the best time to find out what you need to do for an audit is before you ever get the audit letter. You don't want to get the letter and then call me and go, hey, Heather, we got the love letter. I always call it the love letter. And then you're like, what's happening here? So I will share with you those secrets and let's get started. So for those of you that don't know me, I am Heather Cole. I am the founder of Lodestar Solutions. We've been working in the IBM Analytics space for over 16 years. And before that, I worked in it for a company that IBM ended up buying. So been doing this for a really long time, have had every role from consultant to pre-salesperson to salesperson. And most importantly, I am a person that really understands the licensing. I'm actually a licensed attorney in the state of Illinois. Don't worry, when I work with you, I have to disclose I'm not playing as your lawyer. But I do have some great expertise to share with you in this area. So my goal here, as the goal of Lodestar as a whole, is to always show you a better way. So today we're going to show you how to understand IBM's somewhat confusing licensing. We're going to clear the red tape of IBM and help you be successful. So the first thing that you want to do is understand within IBM, there are a number of different players. So there is someone that is in IBM auditing. They are the people whose job it is to contract, usually with Deloitte, to actually do your audit of your licensing. In the Passport Advantage agreement that you sign kind of automatically with IBM, you are agreeing to allow them to audit your environment. So this is just kind of a lot of software companies have this. And so they just kind of randomly, I don't know a rhyme or reason to it, but I do know that they are very active. So keep an eye out for those audit letters. I call it, you'll get a letter saying, hey, we're going to put you on audit and we're going to introduce you to Deloitte. And that starts the process. Now, that's kind of like a line in the sand that says, okay, you better know your licensing. The next people that you want to know about is you have IBM salespeople. Their job is to sell you more IBM software. They're typically not part of the audit. But if you have licensing needs, they can be a very valuable asset. You see, let's say you get the audit letter and you're found to be not in compliance. We're going to share some stories today about that. What will happen is IBM is going to say, okay, you have to buy this. And they're going to give you kind of what they think you owe them. But in reality, that's not always what you need. So what they say you owe them and what you need to go forward in the future may not be the optimal mix. So that's where a partner like Lodestar Solutions can get involved, help you guys figure out, if we have to solve this audit, how's the best way to do it financially and make sure we get what we need for the future, not maybe what we should have used in the past. So know that there's a salesperson, there's an auditor, and then there's another person. There's a support renewal specialist. Now, this person's job is to just renew your support. They really don't know licensing. That's not their job. Their job is just to get you. And they'll get very aggressive a month before that renewal is due. They'll keep emailing you. Now, for many of you watching this, you work with Lodestar Solutions, and just know that Christina on our team can help you with those support renewal needs. Now, in reality, when you're under audit, you kind of want to figure out how to solve the audit if you're found not in compliance with all these players. And we're going to teach you some secrets and tell some stories of how we've done that. The first thing you want to do is understand the situation. IBM licensing rules has changed over the years. As different licensing models come out, older licenses are not as advantageous for you sometimes. And this has happened about every 4 or 5 years. We see new licensing models. And right now we're in the midst of another new one coming out. You may get reps contacting you saying, it's time to move to Cloud Pak for data. We are happy to discuss with you that option in a different webinar series. But for now, we're going to focus on what you have today. Now, most IBM analytics reps today are not familiar with the older licensing model. So those of you that have been a client for 10, 12, maybe even 20 years, some of you, they may not understand the licensing that you have because they came into the organization well after that was no longer a thing. The auditor's job is to find out if you are in compliant or out of compliant and identify those solutions. They really don't look at what's the best mix for you going forward. And the renewal reps are not familiar with the details or the functionality of each license. But the good news is IBM now lets partners like Lodestar engage with you. So we can help you through this process. Do not try and go this alone if you get that letter. Now, I want to share a story of a client that was failing an audit. The client was working with an IBM partner for their renewals, not Lodestar, a different partner. The partner did not offer the annual renewal licenses. Like every one of you that works with Lodestar, you know that we hound you right before your renewal for a meeting. And a lot of you are like, oh, we don't need a meeting. You need the meeting, guys. And the reason for that is that we're going to review your licensing, tell you about any changes or opportunities if IBM has new offerings. It's kind of like a cell phone plan. You know how if you had your cell phone and you never change your plan, you're probably paying way too much because it used to be you paid for every text message and every minute. Sometimes you just got to relook at that and find out if you're in the best mix for what you need. So over the years, IBM has changed these rules. And the biggest rule that they changed is the requirement of what we call the ILMT tool. Now, this is an IBM licensing monitoring tool or metrics tool, they call it. And almost everyone that has TM1 is probably going to need this, or we need to know about it, right? So what this does is if you have licensing that is what we call processor value unit, and this particular client that failed the audit did, then you have to have this tool monitoring it. Now, it happens that that monitoring tool is free, but it does require some extra work to install it. There's some tricks to that. Again, well, it's not really free. It's a penny. And then what happened a couple of years ago is that IBM Audit kind of caught on to this and said, oh, we required this tool if you have PBU and are virtualized, which is like everybody. And what they did is they started kind of nailing clients on the audit. Now, I don't agree with this. I'm right there with you. Like there should have been better notice on this, but this is what happened. So this client gets audited and IBM comes to them. And the way the rules work is that if you don't have this little tool that measures how many cores you're using for your applications and you're virtualized and you're using PBU licensing, then they have the legal rights to charge you for the full capacity of your virtualized server environment. Now, this could be huge, guys. In fact, in this particular client, IBM tried to come back and say, you owe us millions of dollars. And the client's like, heck no, right? And so needless to say, their executives were very angry with IBM. It created this kind of stressful environment, shall I say. And in fact, the client went and got outside attorneys involved to fight IBM. Now, this battle went on for 3 years before the client kind of, I guess they came into one of our webinars or our blogs, and they engaged us to start working with them. And we said, hey, guys, we should really help solve this problem. And we had expressed their concerns. Actually, it was a webinar they saw about don't fail an audit. And they kind of laughed and said, we're already under an audit. And they say, we're failing. Well, what we did, the client, they were just at this impasse. And so what Lodestar did is we made it so that we looked at what they really needed. And for them, it was better to trade up to a new licensing model called the Planning Analytics Advanced. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. And by moving to that, they'd simplify their licensing model. They got more functionality like workspace, had lots of benefits. And we were able to do that at their renewal time. So what we did is we kind of tied in the renewal, we tied in the audit people, and we tied in the salespeople all together to trade them up into this better licensing model everyone's problem was solved with this. The client was happy because it was a lot less than millions of dollars. They got tremendous functionality, and they got, most importantly, what they needed to go forward. So it does take some work to do these deals, and it needs, candidly, it's probably hard for a client to do this alone without a partner that can help and negotiate all those different areas within IBM. But no, it's possible. Now, I think it's important to know the basics of enterprise licensing for both Cognos Analytics and Planning Analytics, which is also known as TM1. You'll see me use that term interchangeably. So in Cognos Analytics, which is BI, there's authorized users licensing. That means every person that has a login has to have a license. There's also processor value unit called PBU licensing. This is more based on the server, how many cores you assign to it. And in a PBU licensing model, you can have as many people as you want accessing as long as you get good performance. If your performance starts to degrade, you then need to buy some more PBUs and add a few more cores to it. And then a lot of times clients will have a mix of authorized user and PBU licensing model. And that comes when they have some power users that are authorized users and can go into test, dev, and prod. And then they have the bulk of their users coming in and just kind of reading some or running some reports, a couple prompted reports, and you can have that mix. If you have the mix, watch out, you need to have the ILMT tool installed. If you have Cognos Planning Analytics, TM1, typical licensing model that we've had for years and years and years is called server plus user. It's a little confusing because you gotta have both in that licensing. So therefore there is a PBU requirement. And therefore in most TM1s environments that are enterprise, it has to have the ILMT tool installed. Now, I've had a situation just recently. A client called me last week and said, Heather, we're under audit. And I said, not a problem. Just run the ILMT report and give that to the auditors. You should be good. Well, it turns out, despite their finance department telling their IT department repeatedly this has to be installed, it was never installed. And creating a stressful situation, right? They got a lot of finger pointing going on. So if you're in the finance department, do me a favor, reach out to me. We'll confirm whether you need this ILMT tool installed, and we'll also make sure it actually gets installed and is doing what it's supposed to be doing. Now, if you want simplification, IBM came out with the Planning Analytics Authorized Analytics Advanced License, and this is a fabulous license. Many of you have talked to you about moving to this licensing model. It gives everyone modeler rights, so you get really tons of functionality. Everyone gets workspace, and you can choose whether you have PBU version, meaning you get unlimited users, or you pay for an authorized user, which means you get unlimited PBUs. Now, we can work with you, which is the best model, but know that this is a fabulous model because if you go with the authorized user model, you don't need the ILMT. It also makes just reporting simplified because you're not like, ooh, who's a user, who's a power user? You don't have to deal with that. So now there's some smaller deployments. If you're a deployment and you're a TM1 user and you have less than 50 users, or if you're a BI environment with less than 100 users, we do have a licensing model that might be a good fit for you that is called Express. Express is basically the same software code, same software, different licensing. It's legally used. But the good thing is, if you fit into the restrictions, it can be a lot cheaper. So you could have this to save money. So the restrictions on this are you can't have more than 50 TM1 users, and you can't have more than 100 total users. So if you have a BI and TM1 environment, your total user count cannot exceed 100 users. What's great about this, though, is there's really no ILMT requirement. And because it's cost less, your support costs are less as well, so annually. So those of you that are smaller deployments, let's talk and make sure you're on this. Some of you, again, bought before this licensing model even existed. So if you think you might need another administrator, another power user, we should talk. because it might be advantageous to actually move you into a completely different licensing model. Again, typically the best time to do all these changes is at your anniversary date or the date of your renewal. Again, let's give you a little case study, true story. Clients in Chicago purchased Cognos BI years and years ago. They had a very small deployment. And during our quarterly calls, so we also try and talk to our clients every quarter at least, they started to share a challenge that they had they had to aggregate financial data from multiple systems. And they didn't really have a great way to do it. They needed to do some magic on it, let's just say. So they needed something like TM1 to do it. We were, ooh, this could be a good fit for planning analytics. And they were also challenged to do their forecasting, which they did in Excel at the time. As we all know, we have a love-hate relationship with Excel, and so that was a challenge. So Lodestar recommended that they use planning analytics to solve this problem, both the budgeting and forecasting problem, as well as the aggregation of the financial data. Now, we could have sold them enterprise TM1, and it would be very expensive, probably out of their budget. But instead of buying enterprise licensing, we recommended they not renew their Cognos BI and instead invest in Cognos Express, both the BI and the TM1. And then we did it over a multiple year of support. And the reason why we did that is we were able to flatten the annual uplift of the renewal costs because it was like prepaying. We then bundled all this into IBM Global Financing, which many of our clients qualify for 0% for the term of what they're buying. And so this case, the client qualified for 0% financing for 3 years, and which helped the cash flow, right? Within less than 2 years, they're going to see a savings because the licensing and the support costs of Express was actually lower than what they were paying for the BI. So here, I mean, when we showed the CFO the numbers, they were like, this is a no-brainer. Again, they fit into the box, I'll call it, of Cognos Express, as they did not exceed the user limits. But it was a great example of how just getting a little creative with that licensing can save them money, and they didn't have to worry about any of that ILMT stuff. Now, again, a warning, this is the warning, caution, warning Will Robbins. Now you guys know how old I am. If you have PBUs on TM1 or BI, you're going to look at your renewal, and you're probably going to have some of the parts listed on the screen. So you might want to take a screenshot or just email me later and we'll talk about it. These are the ones that will require the ILMT tool if you virtualize. 99% of our clients virtualize, so that's why I say you probably need it. And we can help make sure you get that and get it installed. Now, if you're a really older Cognos enterprise planning client, this is somebody that might have used a datum back in the day and they moved from the old Cognos enterprise planning to TM1. I want to talk to you guys specifically because there's a huge risk. It only affects a few people. Most of our clients, we've gotten this solved, but there's some of you still out there with this problem. What happened is IBM gave you dual entitlements to be used on both the old planning analytics and the TM1. And about a year ago, they said, there's nobody still doing this. Poof, we're going to make this dual entitlements go away. Again, didn't do the greatest job of communicating this. I'm not sure why they just didn't run a report. I could sell them some great software to do the analysis and find the clients with this part number and go reach out to them. But they didn't. What they did is their systems magically morphed this dual entitlement license into one that only had the rights on the old planning software, not TM1. Huge issue, right? Because what could happen 3 or 4 years later, they give a love letter from IBM for the audit, and they're found out of compliance because they're on TM1. So if you're an older client, you use the old enterprise planning software, and you're kind of concerned, reach out to me. We'll run the analysis. We know how to fix this too, because Lodestar worked with IBM when we started to see this in some of our older clients, and we created a method to resolve this. Again, best time to fix this problem at renewal time. So your takeaway on this one is you're going to look for this part number EON W5LL, Enterprise Planning User, on your renewal. If you have this and you're using TM1, we need to talk. Okay, so licensing rules. IBM does not have licensing keys like some software, well, in their analytics. So they do have licensing keys in SPSS, but not in Cognos Analytics or Cognos Planning Analytics. If you have a system, we recommend at least 2 administrators, because when Bob, the administrator, wins the lottery, then you need someone to be able to hop in and not have to worry about that. So we always recommend at least 2 administrators to your system. Now, it's also important to know that if you have a consultant that is physically logging into your system and making changes, you, the client, need to own a license for that person. As a partner, we have the rights to use Cognos and demonstrate it and do all of that, but we can't use our license in your environment. And if you think about it, this actually makes sense, right? Because otherwise people would be hiring offshore consultants to log in their system all the time and never pay for the license. So you must own a license. Make sure you have maybe 1 or 2 extra for your consultant. ILMT for PBUs, if virtualized, if you have upgraded your servers, this is another flashing light. I should get a flashing light, like a blue light flasher, that'd be awesome. But if you have upgraded your environment in the past year, 18 months, we should talk, because what's happened to some clients is they upgrade, maybe they're planning analytics to the latest version, they put it in a new environment, and they get beefier servers. Well, the way the PBU is calculated, there's this little grid that says, here's the type of processor I have, here's how, basically how fast it is. It's kind of like a high-end car. You get a syntax for having the Ferrari, right? In some jurisdictions, it's kind of like that. If you have a higher performing server, it's got a higher PBU rating. It might have 100 or 120. The most common we see is 70. And so if they upgrade your environment and they move you to a server that's rated 100, and you had 4 cores before, and you now have 4 cores assigned at 100 rating, you're probably out of compliance. The people that do your infrastructure may not ask the questions, does adding more processing power affect your licensing? So you need to be the ones to ask that question, guys. This is big. I've seen this. This is the little things that happen that make you fail an audit. So I don't want that to happen to you. Again, if you just call us, and if you're upgrading, we'll walk you through that. We always walk you through the PBU calculation. So you're going to check, your takeaways are check how many analytics admins or explorers you have. See if you have enough. The explorer and the admins have the framework manager package for BI. So typically those are your power users. And then on planning analytics, how many modelers do you have? Those are your power users in TM1. If you're a PBU, do you have the ILMT installed? If you're virtualized, and then secondly, let's make sure you have the right amount of PBUs. Now you do need licensing for a test or for a development and a non-prod if you have 2 environments, if you have PBU licensing. Again, we can walk you through this. So let's talk about the state of the union of Cognos Analytics. We have a lot of clients that are on the old unsupported version of Cognos BI. If you're on 10.2.2, we need to talk. You need to upgrade. A true story, a client on an unsupported version, they knew they were unsupported, but they couldn't get the funding internally to get it approved. Some of you have that problem, right? You can't get people to listen. And so what happened is outside area like SQL got upgraded and it broke some connections. They called IBM support because they're paying their support bill. And IBM says, I'm sorry, you're on an unsupported version. We can't help you until you upgrade. Now, guys, you don't want to experience this when you're live, and especially when it's time, like a heavy reporting period, like month-end close, right? So watch out. Find out if you're on unsupported. If you're on a 10 series of Cognos Analytics, you're unsupported, guys. You got to be up in the latest Cognos Analytics version. IBM on-premise licenses are perpetual. And that I get this question a lot saying, Heather, if we didn't pay support, can we still use the licenses? If you have on-premise licensing, absolutely, you have a legal right to use that as long as you care to. The thing I see happening, though, is when like Microsoft or other peripheral third-party tools that connect to your Cognos are upgraded, that's when things break. Now, I don't know about you, but my Microsoft 365 sends me updates like every day. So this is a big risk factor for a lot of clients. If you're struggling to get funding for your upgrade, just give me a call. I can help you how to position this, how to tie this to your strategic goals, how to get visibility to get you funding. And most clients don't know all the function they have. So what happens is when we sit and talk, we'll do a what the heck do I own session for you. And we're going to teach you all the cool functionality that you already own today and how clients are leveraging it. Now, I have to applaud IBM because what they're doing right now is they're adding more and more functionality to what you own. And it's fabulous, but it's only fabulous if you know how to use it. It's like getting a new car and never figuring out how to use the Bluetooth. Like, could you imagine that? Or never turning on the sensors. Like in my car, I love the little sensor that tells me somebody's in my blind spot. But what if you own that and never turned it on? Kind of ridiculous, right? But that's what a lot of you are doing because you're not learning. You don't have time. So Lodestar Solutions, for all of our clients, we offer a quarterly user group for all of you. So if you're doing your support renewals with us or have some services or buy licenses from us, you are in the Lodestar Club and you can join our free quarterly user group. We have a section for BI and a section for TM1, and we get together on Zoom and have some good chats. I think we have some social clubs coming soon too, where we have a remote cocktail hour. But just know that all the earlier sessions are recorded and you guys can go back and get those. So for the BI people, here's some BI considerations, a little summary. Do I only have one analytics admin or explorers? If so, I might be at risk. Do I have less than 100 users? Maybe I should be an express license. Do I have more than 500 BI users? Now, this is a situation where if you have 500 authorized users, we might be able to save you money by moving you to a PBU license where you're paying for the server and as many people as you want come in. So know that that's an option. If you have PBUs on the Explorer license, most clients don't need that. That evolved through all the iterations of IBM licensing. I see it every now and then, and you're probably paying more than you should. If you don't have enough PBUs because you upgrade your server or you're missing that ILMT. So those are your high risk factors. Now let's get to planning analytics. You guys know this piece of the puzzle is near and dear to my heart. Again, a lot of clients are on older unsupported versions. If you're on 10.2.2, 10 version, again, unsupported. Even if you are paying support to IBM, you're paying to get the upgrade, let's use it. Again, IBM might not help you. We've seen clients where they call us with the 911 call because, again, an environmental area was upgraded. It killed their Cognos planning. And they called IBM, and IBM said, sorry, you have to upgrade. And luckily, our technical consultant was able to kind of back things out and get them going temporarily. But you do not want to go to that stress. This went all the way to the CEO of this organization of what was happening because it was, of course, month close. So if you are struggling to keep up with the executive demands for new forecasts, new models, and you're thinking, gosh, TM1's kind of kludgy, it's not doing what I need to, my guess is you have not done a model redesign in a while. What we're finding a lot of clients haven't leveraged the virtual dimensions and the cool new functionality that you could in the software. So we are actually hosting events coming up on March 16th, 2021. And if you want to know what all the cool new functionality of planning analytics is, join us on that date. We're going to show you all the cool new stuff. We're going to talk about virtual dimensions, which are my favorite. They're super cool because they give you like superpowers for modeling and slicing and dicing your information. So join us on that date. I'll make sure that after this, we put a link to it, but you'll also find it under lodestarsolutions.com/events. You'll find all of our events posted there. So, and most planning analytics deployments, as I said earlier, do require the ILMT tool. We can get around that. If your company is like, we're not installing that, let's talk. I'm super excited because it's about to be planning season. Many of you know, if you're in the planning analytics world, that there is seasonality for most companies and that we start to see a lot of people upgrading or buying new software right now in the spring. They implement it in kind of the early summer and they go live in August or September with their budget. That means a couple things to you guys. Consultants are going to be in high demand. So if you're thinking about doing an upgrade, get help now. Talk to us. Let's chat about it. Even if you're like, Heather, we got to go it alone, talk to us. We're going to tell you where the landmines are. And so that you make sure that you kind of know what you're doing and don't avoid, you can avoid a misstep. The other thing to know is a lot of you, as a result, have your renewals coming up. So make sure if you're not currently a Lodestar client, reach out to us. We'd love to review your licensing, make sure you're in the optimal mix and provide you a very competitive quote for your renewals. If you need help though, again, please get to us early. We're getting really busy. For the TM1 licensing considerations, we like to give you a little summary here. You want, for smaller deployments, Express might be a better option for you. Again, we have to have under 50 TM1 users or under 100 in total. If you are missing the analytics server or non-production licensing, if you're that server plus user licensing model, you might, and you have a test environment, you might be missing some licensing. So we should talk. Yes, you have to pay for a non-production environment in most cases of TM1. The only time you don't is if you're in the Planning Analytics Advanced Licensing. Some of you, again, might have upgraded. You might need more PBUs. And here's the big thing now. If you're an older TM1 client and you probably don't have Workspace. Workspace is amazing. It's dashboarding in TM1. You now can build models in it. This is IBM's go-forward strategy, is to use Workspace. So if you don't have Workspace, let's chat. I can send you a link to a little video that Mike did showing you how cool Workspace is. There's ways to affordably get you into Workspace. So what you're looking for is on your renewal, if it says Performance Management User, that's when you probably don't have Workspace. So we need to add that on. And you can trade up your existing planning analytics to the advanced suite licensing mix. More, you get more functionality, you get the Workspace, simplified licensing model, but you want to do it at renewal time. It will allow you to save the most money. And the reason why I say that, guys, is with every trade up that you do, IBM includes 1 year of support. So if you did it mid-year, then you're kind of overpaying for support because when you buy support, you prepay for the year, right? IBM doesn't give you a credit if you do it mid-year. I wish, I'd love, hey, IBM, if you're listening, can you add that? That'd be fabulous. But they don't. So that's why we say, let's do this trade up at renewal time, save you the most money. So let's work together. If you'd like information, if you have some questions to follow up on this, go ahead and schedule your complimentary discussion with us about your current analytics deployment. If you have a problem, you're like, I just can't figure this out, let us know. We love those challenges because it gives us great content for our user group. Lodestar will be happy to review all your licensing, identify any risks or potential audit issues you may have, and make sure you understand those risks and can communicate them. If you need funding, we can help you with that too. Our goal is to make sure you're not paying for more than you need and you're using everything that you have. So schedule your What the Heck Do I Own session with us today. Again, that's complimentary. It takes about an hour and we walk you through your current licensing mix, what functionality you currently own and share with you how our clients are leveraging that. So again, free 1 hour session. I love this session because every time I do it, clients are like, oh my gosh, I learned so much. This was better than going to a week-long IBM event because it's really tailored to you. So again, go ahead, shoot us an email and register for this today. We can record it so that you can share it with other people as well. So that's it, guys. I'm Heather Cole. For those of you that have not connected with me, please do so today. Go ahead, find me on LinkedIn. It's Heather L. Cole. Put the L in there because there's lots of me apparently. And let's start the conversation. We will go ahead. If you have any questions that are in chat, I see that it's, what does ILMT stand for? Yes, ILMT is the IBM License Metric Tool. ILMT. If you Google it, actually, if you go to the Lodestar Solutions website and go to our blogs, we have a ton of blogs that I personally wrote on ILMT, on PBUs, on all the little technical stuff that I just talked about. We have tons of supporting documents for you on that. And we can also send you what we call the PBU calculator. It's just a little form. We give it to IT. They write in what kind of servers. You guys send it back, and we come back and go, here's your PBU rating. So that's a great way to do it as well. If there's any other questions, let's go ahead and put them in chat. If not, you guys know how to get a hold of me. We do these series for our clients every month. So check our events calendar. We have events on how to make you successful, how to cover your back, and most importantly, how to show you a better way. That's it from Lodestar Solutions. We'll see you guys next time and have a fabulous day.